Hi guys, welcome to Geek. A bit of a different one this time. We've been sent in a few requests from people asking us to respond to a specific video by a channel called Skill Builder on heat pumps. I haven't watched the video, my partner Patrick's watched it, who said it was interesting. So yeah, we've decided to just knock up a video on my reaction, just talk about some of the points they're talking about. And that's it. So yeah, let's have a look. This guy, is he a builder or a plumber?
General builder.
Will be useful.
Is this his own channel or is it for someone else? Do you know? Looks like his own. Looks good.
On the Skill Builder channel, back with another rant, and this time I want to talk to you about a car crash. A car crash that I can see happening in slow motion coming your way. And basically, the car crash I'm talking about is heat pumps, and specifically the government's idea of incentivizing people to take up the heat pump technology by pouring 11.8 billion pounds of your tax-paying money into the pockets of companies who are going to install heat pumps. Now,
11.5 billion is for the RHI that's ending, isn't it? That's what's been over the last 8 years.
I assume that's
not what's going on.
Yeah.
Because that's about to end.
We've got like 7 months left.
Yeah, okay.
0.8 billion pounds. Very easy to say. You know, we're used to talking about billions and trillions these days.
Actually, do you want to jump in on this video?
Sure.
Because if you've seen it, you're probably you're a bit of a heat pump pro as well. So, right, ready?
I'm ready.
And what the government...
Oh, guys, meet Patrick, business partner. We run Vito Energy together. We install all sorts of things in our installation business, and it's the other half of Geek.
Chucking at this, that and the other, but don't forget, 11.8 billion pounds. That's a lot of money, and it's only the tip of the iceberg because they vastly underestimated how much money it will cost to put these heat pumps in. The whole idea of incentivizing people to install heat pumps is so that they can get rid of gas boilers. Now, at the moment...
Very emotive, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a bit angry.
He's upset.
Moment, when you look at people's fuel bills, running a heat pump is roughly 3 times more expensive than running a gas boiler. Now,
no, it's not. I mean, it could be.
Yeah. The thing about all heat pumps is it's not the heat pump, it's not the box that's on the wall, it's the installer that puts it in. That's the variable, not the box itself. Yeah, okay, I can see.
I mean, there are horror stories. You hear a lot of people, you see a lot of bad news on the internet saying my heat pump's incredibly expensive to run. They can be, of course they can be.
Yep.
They have to hit that COP, otherwise they're going to be horrible.
And the only way of ensuring that is a good installer. It's the installer's the variable, absolutely.
and you can argue with that. I know there will be people out there who are saying, I've installed a heat pump and it's working beautifully and it's heating my house and all the rest of it. A lot of people don't live in those kind of houses. They live in drafty, cold houses without underfloor heating and without the levels of insulation that you're talking about. What is a heat pump? Do you want to know what a heat pump is? There is free heat floating around in the outdoors. It's coming from the sun and it's heating our air. Even on a cold day, there is some sensible heat to be had. So what we have is a box on your patio or hung on your wall or somewhere else, a white metal heat pump with a big fan in it. And that fan sucks in all this lovely warm air. Basically, it's like a fridge in reverse. A fridge, you're trying to take the warm air out of a box so that you can keep your food cold. It's not actually producing ice. What it's doing is removing heat. And as it removes heat, the temperature goes down and down and down until you start getting ice on the coils on the back of your fridge. This little baby here is doing the same thing. What it's basically trying to do is cool the world down. It's trying to extract heat from around it. It's sending that into the house in a couple of pipes. So we've got a flow and we've got a return. When it extracts that heat and it sends it in, it deposits that heat, rather like the grill on the back of your refrigerator, if you've seen it, that lovely looking grill there. It deposits that heat into your house. The only way that it does it really efficiently is to have what we call a buffer tank, similar to a hot water cylinder.
I mean, that's incorrect, but I don't think anyone needs to know why.
Do you know a lot of the manufacturers now are saying that you have to fit a buffer tank? They won't allow anyone to fit their heat pump without it.
And that's exactly because of this issue of the variable being the installer. If you don't know where and when to fit a heat pump or a buffer, just saying a buffer on all of them means most of them are going to be okay. It doesn't mean they're going to be getting up to the absolute maximum efficiency levels.
It'll help with cycling in most cases, but if you've got enough underfloor heating, big enough radiators, you could get away without a buffer.
Yeah, and it will help with the reputation of heat pumps whilst we don't know about them, because the reputation, whilst the general industry don't know about them, is tanking, I guess due to experiences of people such as this guy.
It's got a coil inside it, so that heat is given up into the house. We've got lovely warm heat. The radiator circuits, or the underfloor heating, is taken off there. So we've got a flow out to the radiators, we've got a return, and we've got some radiators here. We also want to have some hot water, by the way, so in here we might also have a coil. It's taking water away to our shower. Again, that's a coil affair, hot water going out, cold water coming back. That sounds great, doesn't it?
That's not the sort of buffer you would fit on a heat pump.
You wouldn't hit,
generally.
if you fit a thermal store on a heat pump, you're installing the least efficient heat pump.
You're not going to get hot water. You need to heat you'd have to heat the thermal store up to
get warm
temperatures.
Water.
You'd get lukewarm water.
And you'd have a very low COP because you'd have hot water temperature.
I suppose if it was a bivalent system, maybe. If he's got you know, a dual fuel.
Yeah, but at the moment he's not really criticising heat pumps or anything. It's just a bit of a bad explanation.
Just a lesson.
Yeah.
We put a bit of electricity on it in here, and on a good day we're probably getting a coefficient, a COP of around 3, say, if we're lucky, mate.
That's not a good day. I mean, a good day with air source would be warm outside and good radiators. So
4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. For hot water, you know, it's a 30-degree day outside or more. You could get very high COP.
Maybe 2. So basically that means for every kilowatt of energy you put in to run that fan and that pump, you're going to get 3 kilowatts of energy.
Now, 3 kilowatts, the COP of 3 would be more like the SCOP, the average. So on the best day 4, on the worst day 2, in the middle would be 3.
That would be a really good seasonal coefficient.
Yeah, he said best day, but
energy
forgive him for
out
that.
here into your radiators. That is when the air temperature is fairly warm. But of course, who wants to heat their house in the warm weather? Nobody. What we want to do is on a cold winter's night, we want to be heating our house. The sun's gone in, so suddenly that's not a factor anymore. The air temperatures drop. I've installed heat pumps, and I can tell you a lot of people are very disappointed after a couple of years of running and seeing their high electricity bills and the fact that their house is not warm. So that's a real kick in the goonies, if you like, paying 3 times as much for you.
So he's installed lots of heat pumps, and he can tell us that his customers are really unhappy with the installs.
I think he's installed some heat pumps, yeah.
But he can tell us that his customers are paying 3 times more in electricity.
Yeah.
This is more about the
he's
installation.
kind of dropped himself in it there.
So it's more about the installation than I shouldn't laugh. But
your fuel.
This is the whole thing with the whole industry. Heating engineers will be disappointed with their performance and how happy their customers are if they don't learn about system design before installing them. You have to learn about system design and how to get the maximum COP, the COP that he's talking about. You can't just go and plonk it on the wall like you would a gas boiler and cross your fingers, because they just don't work the same. But again, this isn't really, so the title is "This is why heat pumps may not be the future," and they might not be, who knows. They may be at the same time. But the point is, it's not the heat pump that's the variable, it's the installer and the knowledge in the installer.
Bills and having a colder house to boot. So, bring back my gas boiler. No, you've taken the government's money and you've got rid of your gas boiler, because that's the only way you're going to get that grant, is if you actually junk your gas boiler out, because don't forget, that's the name of the game. We want to save the planet, we want to get rid of gas boilers. Now actually, I would love to get rid of my gas boiler. I have installed heat pumps, I've put in ground source heat pumps, I've put in air source heat pumps, and if they worked, I would be the first guy to be taking out my gas boiler and putting in a heat pump.
I wonder what the other installers are thinking that install these and have really happy customers. They must just be thinking...
We have happy customers.
Yeah, I mean...
but they don't all not work. We know that some of them, a lot of them, have been put in incorrectly and they don't work as they should do.
And also, we know that for some customers, it's just too expensive to upgrade the insulation and radiators, so we offer them other solutions like the hydrogen fuel cell that we've got, or
a really good gas boiler.
Gas boiler's
they're,
great.
They're going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
I completely agree with him on that.
Yeah, totally.
But they don't work. They don't work well enough in our housing stock. Sure.
There is no they don't work, or they do work. There is a big gap in the middle there, and I think one of the main issues in the industry is people are looking for one solution that just fits everywhere, and unless it fits in every single house and it's cheap enough for everyone to afford, then that's it. It should just be forgotten about because we've already got gas boilers. No, in a situation where people can afford it and it works, let's use what's best there, because we need to start cutting carbon, and wherever we can, we should trim that off. We shouldn't just dismiss something because it doesn't fit in all situations. That is not a tailored approach.
So what he's talking about is old properties not being suitable, new properties being very suitable. The only difference between them, other than the fact the older ones are built a lot better, is that the older ones are a bit more leaky. They weren't as insulated, they weren't the modern insulation kind of standards. So the only difference is insulation. Well, he'll know as a builder, you can insulate older properties. It just sometimes is a bit too expensive.
Yeah, totally.
Housing stock. Sure, they work in Scandinavia, where they've got these lovely houses which are beautifully insulated, draft-proof, triple glazed. You can heat those houses with a light bulb. You don't even need to put any
Well, they've
heat
needed
on.
to because they've had harsher winters historically, but now we're starting to get harsher winters as well because of climate change. So we're going to have to adapt.
And this is the whole thing about heat pumps, that it's a approach where you look at the heat loss and the radiator sizing as part of the heat pump. You don't just go, there's a box in a property. It's more of a holistic solution. He's describing what you should be doing, not why they don't work. And he's describing what obviously some people haven't done, which is why they don't work.
So heat pumps are wonderful in those situations. So, okay, the argument goes that all we need to do is increase the insulation on our houses, put in the draft proofing, generally raise the standard. That's a bit of a pipe dream, if you like, because a lot of our houses are very old, very drafty, and they heat leak like, you know, some of them have even got solid walls. Haven't even got cavity walls, let alone cavity wall insulation.
That is our main issue, isn't it? It's the age of the properties.
We had a prolific society of building across, 100, 200 years, where most of the houses were built in the UK.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. Solid brick walls leak because they're their own thermal bridge surrounding the whole of the property.
Yeah.
So we've got to spend a vast fortune bringing our houses up to scratch so that we can
It
install a
is
heat
so
pump,
expensive
which
as
at
well.
best is going to give us 2 for 1, if you like, somewhere along that, averaged out over the year and the heating season. Because don't forget, you've still got to heat up your hot water. Very often you'll find that a heat pump won't heat your hot water up to the temperature you need it. And don't forget, you've got to heat it up to get rid of Legionella. So some of these heat pumps have a cycle in there where they switch on an
Iceland is the land of price cuts. We've cut loads of
I suppose this might be one of the reasons it's so emotive, to get some of those ad revenues in. Or he might be this passionate. I can understand why he would be this passionate if he,
the most natural
from what he's saying.
That looks good.
immersion heater to top the water up. So you're feeling the pipe thinking, oh, it's lovely. All this is coming out of a heat pump. But actually it's not, because the heat pump has got a little immersion heater in it, which is topping it up. So it's cheating, really.
Well, it's cheating, really. The immersion only comes on the Legionella cycle, so once every week or however long you program it for. It's not permanently on.
Well, it shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
We've seen lots of systems where it is, to get over the fact that they've poorly designed it, so they need that 3 kilowatt or more backup, and that is cheating.
Yes, broken systems or poorly installed systems are poor. That doesn't need a video to explain.
It's going back to old-fashioned technology. So how are they ever going to make this system work? Well, the way they're going to make it work, and the way they're going to get people like you and me to sign up to heat pumps.
Sorry guys, a rep just dropped in. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, we were listening to this guy.
Get people like you and me to sign up to heat pumps is they've got to make gas more expensive. That's the way they're going to do it. They're not going to make electricity cheaper. They're going to bring gas up so that they produce what we laughingly call a level playing field.
Has this been announced, or is this him guessing.
There's talk of it, isn't there? And
But
it's not.
the talk I've heard is that they're going to remove the levies from electricity and then put it onto the gas, which is the right way round, because...
Well, it could be. I mean, I think they're going to have to be really careful to not put people into fuel poverty. People that are, you know, on the breadline already and need their gas boiler to be affordable.
The idea is, though, that the electricity comes down to counteract the gas, but, you know, it may all both end up higher, who knows? But just saying that they're going to keep the electricity exactly the same and increase the gas, that's...
it's unlikely.
This is a conjecture, isn't it?
Yeah.
We got electricity and we got gas, both on a par. And if they're not on a par, they will fix it. They will make sure that those two prices are pegged.
It's like a conspiracy theory, basically.
So that you look at your gas bill. So then you start thinking, oh, perhaps I ought to invest in a heat pump. You've got a few quid tucked away, so you decide to have a heat pump. They take out your gas boiler and then they put your heat pump in on your wall or on your patio or anywhere else you've got room for it. You live in a flat, it's going to be hanging on your wall. They put in the pipe work, buffer tank, larger radiators or the underfloor heating or whatever they can put in to try and make use of that heat. Instead of costing you, say, £4,000 for a gas boiler replacement, you've taken that government's £4,000 grant, yippee, but now you've got to spend, I would say, £16,000 doing the extra work to make the heat pump work. Now, you could say that's an exaggeration. OK, let's say that's an exaggeration. Let's say market forces dictate that that price is going to come down to a nice round £10,000. So you've only spent an extra £6,000 getting rid of your gas boiler and going for a heat pump. Yippee! But you ever going to get that back? Maybe, maybe not. If gas prices go up, you're definitely going to get it back. And that's where the fix comes in. Now, I predict very soon...
Hold on, so just on price, cost alone, which is arguable anyway, but that's not addressing any of the carbon side of it.
That's the whole point. There seems to be a thing in the public psyche that renewable energy has to both be cheaper and pay back. Yes, that would be ideal. That would make it perfect. All the world's problems would be resolved. Unfortunately, it's just not necessarily the case.
When does a gas boiler pay you back? When does your car pay you back? You've got to factor in the usability of it. You're paying to have a thing that does the job that you need it to do. It's heating your house, it's doing your hot water.
Yeah. Not to mention, obviously, it increases your value of your home because it's already future-proofed for something that doesn't use fossil fuels.
This is going to be another one of these schemes which a lot of people, a lot of companies have invested in, thinking they're going to get a bonanza. They're going to train up loads and loads of people. They reckon that we've got around 15,000 qualified trained installers to install heat pumps. So we're going to need some more. We're going to need a hell of a lot more. The problem is, as we know, those heat pump installers are going to know about heat pump installation. They're probably not going to know about all the vagaries of internal plumbing in the way that a plumber does.
Nail on the head there.
Well, yeah, nail on the head, but you can't know about heating but not know about, like, installing heat pumps is doing the plumbing. Like the heat pump is a box. It's got, now you don't even need a fridge gas, you know, an F-gas certificate. You can literally put your box outside, it's got flow and return. The only thing you do need to know about is your radiators and your plumbing.
But this is the problem, isn't it? You can be heat pump qualified, you can have a BPEC in a heat pump, but it doesn't teach you enough about the hydraulics, about the...
That's the problem. The problem in our industry is heating system design, which is exactly the reason this channel exists. There's not enough information about heating system design because we've gone with this throw a combination boiler on the wall, walk away, it's going to work, and we've had that for so long. It's the get out of education free card, as Patrick's
So we've got a competence. The competence is lacking, but compliance is the only thing they want.
We've forgotten how to design heating systems, so we can't say we're putting a heat pump on a poorly designed or a non-designed heating system and it's not working. That makes it a poor heat pump. No, that makes it a poor installation. It's the same thing we said throughout the whole video, really, isn't it?
Who's been at it for years, so you're going to have a lot of barely trained operatives coming into your house, ripping out your plumbing, installing new...
and a lot of these heat pump engineers are going to have come from heating. They're not just going to have come from being a butcher to a heat pump installer.
Yeah, or a double glazing salesman. But a lot there, it is misrepresented by people that have gone from being double glazing salesmen into being heat pump renewable salespeople.
There's no way of denying, and he's 100% right in this, that our industry was commandeered by charlatans that have given it a bad name and installed exactly the way he's saying it, which has left us with this mess to deal with. So he's right in what he's saying, But where he's wrong is that he's perpetuating that that's the way it has to be.
Or the only way.
Yeah.
Cylinders and everything else. And the other thing is, where are you going to put this cylinder? Because a lot of people, I've been in a few houses in my time, there ain't a lot of room in there. The heat pump itself, I said you can stick it out on a patio or something like that. I've installed them on a patio. I've left them on a patio, and within a couple of months, the householders phoned me up and they said, you know what, that thing comes on in the morning, I can hear the fan going, my neighbour's complaining about it. And one thing I know about fans, by the way, is even if they start off whisper quiet, they get noisier. It's one of those facts of life. Fans get noisier. Even if you're willing to tolerate that, is your neighbour willing to tolerate it? So
this is obviously, you know, this is a thing. Nothing doesn't have any downsides. Like a gas boiler has carbon, for example.
And there are clear rules about siting a heat pump. They can't be too close to a neighbour's property. They can't be too close to a neighbouring window or bedroom for this exact reason. But they don't.
Part of your training is to know about the sound decibels and how far it travels and distances.
Yeah,
so that's
I would say that there are, you know, there's good heat pumps, there's bad heat pumps. Some heat pumps stay very quiet for a long time, and if they're serviced properly, which they have to be, then they should stay quiet for forever.
The other thing about this is, though, that gets ignored quite often, is that gas boilers are where they're going to be. They're never going to get more efficient than where they are at the moment. Heat pumps, though, are on a big curve. They're getting quieter and quieter. They're being able to run higher and higher temperature. The heat pump we've got outside heating this place, or it's a backup heater for our solar thermal, runs up to 65. In fact, actually, it goes to 70. Valent,
yes.
I think the Valent, it's Arathen Plus.
It shouldn't, and that should only be used for hot water.
No, but it's the fact that their ability is improving all the time. You know, who's to say in 10 years' time they're not obviously run really high temperatures?
Absolutely.
Although heat loss should have come down by then, and they should be quieter. So heat pumps at the beginning of their kind of journey, boilers had a long time and a lot of money behind them. To refine how they sort of work. Heat pumps haven't had their chance yet. That's part of the reason for the grant, to get some sort of competition in here for the gas boilers and give them a slice of the market in order for them to improve. This is how we improve technology, is by investing in it and investing in training.
So I said I've installed this on the patio, and the guys phoned me up and he said, can you move it? Can you put it somewhere else? I said, where would you like it? He said, well, I'd like it down the end of the garden, under the trees there, hidden away. So I've moved it and I've installed the insulated pipework from the new position all the way up to the house, buried in the ground, double insulated, everything else. And then he said, that heat pump doesn't seem to be working. It's giving out hardly anything. And of course, it's under the trees. And if ever you're hot on a hot summer's day, take a walk in the forest and see how much cooler it is. So
that's part of the design of you should know that as the installer.
That's like saying I connected a boiler up, I didn't bother connecting the gas up, and it didn't even work.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you don't put it in the right location, it's not going to perform.
I feel sorry for his customer in that case. I'm sure he realises now that it was his fault.
You know, I suppose this engineer, what's this guy's name?
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't say. And he may have learnt from that in that situation, not to put it in a bunch of bushes or wherever he put it. But I think with the online community we have now in heating, between heating engineers and them constantly talking, stuff like that is very, very rare. Like, you wouldn't meet many people that would put a heat pump in a bunch of bushes and some trees.
You'd post a photo of it once, wouldn't you? And then you'd get lambasted forever.
And rightly so.
There's a little problem for you. Where to put the heat pump, where to put the buffer tank. Can you put in...
That is an issue, but...
There's a massive issue, actually, especially in London, in cities. You're so close to a boundary. If you've got a terraced house, you have to be a minimum of 1 metre from a boundary and away from any windows. It is really difficult, and it's not suitable for every house.
And sound amplifiers. So if you've got terrace, if they all have heat pumps out the back facing the same direction, that's going to get pretty loud. So they don't fit everywhere, but that doesn't mean they don't work. They fit in some places very, very well.
Same thing with a cylinder. There's a good reason there's a lot of combis at the moment, because a lot of people value their space.
Yes.
They're in a very, very expensive but small property, and they don't have the space for a cylinder. And that is another thing that we need to get around.
It's not a perfect solution, and there isn't a perfect solution.
We don't know that there's not going to be an air source combi at some point. Although there isn't at the moment that I know of. We don't know that there won't be one at some point.
Or some other technology.
Or something.
But we've got to work with what we've got. And if we just say, let's ignore any carbon saving measures measures until they're as good as the carbon using ones we have at the moment. We're not going to do anything with it. That's not the approach we should have. The climate's changing literally as we speak.
In underfloor heating, can you put in larger radiators? If not, then I'm afraid you're not ticking many boxes for a heat pump. But that won't stop them trying to sell you one, because one thing you know is when that company has invested millions of pounds in training up operatives in getting those heat pumps, and the manufacturers have ramped up their production to meet this bonanza, you're going to have that heat pump installed because the salesman is very compelling. He's the exact opposite to me. So he comes in, he says, yeah, it's going to be lovely, you're going to save money, you're going to have this lovely heat, and you're going to be helping the planet. So you're going to feel lovely about that, because who doesn't want to help the planet? After a couple of years, you think, hang on, something's wrong here. This is not working out for me. So the next thing we get is people phoning us up or emailing or texting us. Have you been missold a heat pump?
Brilliant.
If you have, you're entitled to compensate.
That's
Absolutely.
a brilliant point.
It's absolutely, yeah.
It's coming.
I'm surprised it isn't already the case, and it should be, because there's not enough protection for the consumer.
Where he started was that the salesman's going to come in and promise X, Y, and Z, and he is promising the things that the best engineers will do, which is a really high COP, low electricity bills, and high levels of comfort, obviously. Where it falls down with those old models, where they go around door-to-door salesmen, etc., is that they don't then respect the biggest link in this chain, and the most important link, which is the quality of the engineer and the person installing it. That's where the money and time has to go. That has to be the person really that goes out and understands the system and designs the system. By sending an engineer, by sending a salesman in and then firing it back to an engineer to put in as quickly as possible, means none of those promises are going to be met, and they haven't been, which was what is giving it a bad name, unfortunately, or started to give them a bad name in a certain among a certain demographic. They do also have the exact opposite reputation in the industry in different pockets, but the main difference between the two is one was thrown in by someone who's just an installer who's done it cheap because the salesman needs to make his markup, and the other group, it's been installed by engineers who have been paid a proper wage to design it and put it in properly. You go with that?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a massive discrepancy, and there's no comeback. Even if you're on the MCS scheme, even if you're Trustmark approved, if you do it incorrectly and the customer complains, there may be an investigation, but it's much more likely that company will have a random audit on an install of their choosing, and then whoever's auditing them, usually the certification body, will say, no, they're okay, actually, don't worry about it, that was an anomaly.
Well, because all the focus is on the paperwork, not on the installer. There's not enough credit and credence to the installers in our industry. They need to be given more authority. It's almost seen as we need people in suits and ties to do the paperwork and the clever bit, like the pipe sizing.
And health and safety.
And then we'll just get any old, loser from school or something to do the install. That is completely the opposite way around.
And we see quite a lot of times where the heat pump is just bolted into an existing system. There's no upgrades made to any of the pipework, any of the emitters, but it still complies because the paperwork side has been done right.
But yeah, again, missing the complete most important link, which is the installer, the boot on the ground. He needs to be the one in charge and dictating what's going on, and importantly, he needs to be trained up properly. Oh, has this run out of battery? No.
Compensation. We will arrange for compensation for you, and we will take a percentage of the compensation fee, obviously, for doing all the legwork on it. Again, we've got another great industry, like the mis-selling of pensions, like all those other things that we've had.
And it's going to be easy for people to verify as well. They can say, these are the running costs we had over the year, we know how much we used because of our smart meter.
Thinking that they would phase out petrol and that we'd have this lovely lead-free fuel diesel. What could possibly go wrong with that? Have you been missold a diesel car? Are the emissions figures on your diesel car even true? Because we know a few people have been cooking the books on that one as well. This, I'm afraid, as I said at the beginning of this video, is a car crash in slow motion. It will happen. There will be tears at bedtime. There will be people who are installing heat pumps who think they're doing the right thing, who have the best interest of the planet at heart, and I totally applaud that. I'm not ridiculing those people, but all I'm saying is we need to think about what we're actually gaining, because when you look at the figures for junking out all that stuff, is that gas boiler even such a problem? Okay, you could say that any emissions are bad emissions, but actually they've done an awful lot to clean up gas boilers over the years. And when you start looking at the emissions that this country, the UK as a whole, contributes to the global picture, say we're talking about 1%. So what we're trying to save here is absolutely negligible.
That's incorrect. So a lot of our emissions are exported to places like China, and in fact, actually, if you look at emissions per capita, we're worse than China, and China on the way down on the list by quite some way. We export our manufacturing, that's why our percentage is quite low. Per capita, we're actually quite high if you factor in all of our exports.
We don't make anything.
Or imports, sorry.
We don't make anything at all. And we went through an industrial revolution where we made everything, and our emissions were incredibly bad.
And made most of it, yeah.
And instead we went into soft services and accounting because it made us more money. It's the thing we were specialists in.
It's a poor
which
metric.
means we can get rid of it.
Yeah, it's a poor metric. And also, you shouldn't say, oh, well, let's only focus on this or this. You should try and save carbon everywhere. The only way we're going to be able to do anything about this issue that the world has is by scrimping and saving from every area we can. Not going, well, let's just forget about heating, it's too difficult.
And leading by example as a developed country that has a lot of prominence in the world. We can lead by example.
Not only that, there's a chance for an industry here. We can we can get producing and manufacturing heat pumps or training, for example.
Negligible. Okay, you can say you've got to do your bit, and I agree with that. Let's try and do something that's realistic, that's got half a chance of success, because this hasn't. I'm Roger Bisbee. I hope you found that interesting and useful, and I've just got one parting thought for you. Maybe, and this sounds a bit like a joke, maybe we should abandon the whole idea of heating our homes and heat the people in them. Heated jackets. They exist already, battery powered. You can walk around the house with a lovely heated jacket on. Let the government give away heated jackets to the population. It would actually be cheaper for them to give every man, woman and child.
That would rot the house.
Your house would
I thought it was a builder.
No, your house would die, but I don't disagree with there being a change of ethos, a change of the way that we heat people and houses. At the moment, a lot of people have a design temperature inside of 21 degrees C. 21 degrees C is quite warm. Humans aren't used to that
I've heard that's on the agenda to try and get people to be comfortable at lower temperatures, and I think that is unfortunate, unless there is a miracle thing that comes along, because heat pumps isn't one, gas boilers isn't even on the, they need to be phased out if we can. Yeah, there does need to be a change of ethos. I think the overall kind of riding thing is heat pumps generally produce about 1/3, maybe even up to 1/5 of the carbon that a gas boiler does. It's a no-brainer to put them in where you can. No, they don't work everywhere because some customers can't afford it at the moment. That might be a political thing that comes into place, that perhaps they will be able to afford it soon with some assistance.
One thing we should make clear is there's no one solution that fits all, but because heat pumps don't fit absolutely everywhere, doesn't mean that we shouldn't fit them anywhere.
Exactly. Yep. Is there anything else?
A child in this country a free heated jacket than it would to embark on this madness. I say that in jest, the heated jacket, but watch this space. If you think this is a mad scheme, let's see what else they come up with.
It's a bit sensationalist, obviously.
Well, it's got a YouTube video. You have to be a bit sensationalist for that, don't you, Adam?
Yeah, maybe. All right, guys. Well, hi, guys. Sorry, just to interrupt. Skill Builders actually released a part 2 to this on heat pump conspiracies. So we've also done a reaction video on that. After watching this video back, I think we were quite kind of nice and calm. The second video, though, I get a little bit angry. You might want to watch it. I'll put a link to it here. So yeah, have a look at that. That goes into some of the stuff that was probably missed from this video, which is definitely worth watching. Okay, catch you later.